1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello, this is Harry, and this is my first milestone update for my capstone project. So far, I've installed the tools that I need, IDE, and configured the dev environment. I've uploaded, in my case, the development timeline and the functionality chart to the GitHub repository. I have finished the authentication system, although I haven't finished the forgot password because I still need to work on implementing send by email. I have finished the profile setting where the user can change their username or delete their account, the main menu that basically just navigates between scenes. I have uploaded the necessary graphics for the stages, for just normal stage and the boss stage. And the end screen animation I'm going to implement towards the end because I think finishing the core functionality is more important right now. Alright, so here we have the actual testing page. This is the Unity engine, and I'm just going to go over the functionalities that I've completed. Here's the register. Once you click register, it's actually going to take you to this page where you can enter your username. And since, let's just check if a username that already exists in the database will trigger something here. If you click register, it'll say account creation failed because the name already exists. But if I choose a name that doesn't exist, like test player 8, and I'm just going to use password 1 as a password, I still need to work on the strong password as well. It actually registers the new user. You can go into the login this time and enter the new user, test player 8. Let's say if you go to 10, and this will also trigger something that says the username you entered does not exist. But if you go to the username that does exist, now since I've answered some gibberish for password, it will say incorrect password entered. But now let's just enter the correct password and it will log you in. So let's just go to this start game. This is just the little mini game that I created, just increasing store to see if the score is being stored correctly to the database. You can back out, come back in. It will still be displayed the same because this is actually saved in a local environment. But once you click exit game, this will actually store the score into the database. And if you log back in with the same user information, test player 8, and go to password 1, you log in. If you should click the start game, yeah, it will be stored there. And here you can actually go to profile and enter your username, a new username that you want to change into. So let's say test player 10, let's say. If you want to change the name into test player 10, it'll actually change the name. And if you back out, it'll say test player 10 now. Now, if you want to delete your account, you have to enter a correct password. If you enter some gibberish, it's just going to say incorrect password entered. But if you do enter a correct password, now you're logged out and now you're deleted. And just to show you what's in the stages that I've created, here is my normal stage. And if you back out to see the scene, this is my normal stage. And here is my boss stage. Now let's go over the code. Alright, so here is my code. And the very first code that I have is the main menu. It's nothing exciting, it's just going from different scene to scene. But I have disabled some of the buttons if the user has not been logged in. In the registration page, what we're basically doing is we're creating a web form that's going to pass in the username and password that the user entered into Unity, and we're going to send that to the PHP file that's going to send that to the database. And if the request is successful and the network connection did not cause any error, it's going to check if the PHP file ran successfully. If it did, it's going to echo back 1, and it's going to tell us that, yeah, account was created successfully. And in the login, it's very similar, where you're going to take the username and password from the Unity side. It's going to send it to the PHP, and it's going to send that to the database. Same thing with the connection error. And once they check that in the PHP side, once they check the name field and password is in fact correct, it's going to echo back 1 and it's going to log the user in. In the profile, we have something slightly different where it's going to take in the username and the new username in this method, because what we're doing is we're changing the username to a new username. It's going to basically check in the PHP side, it's going to check if the username does exist, and if it does, then it's going to change to a new username. And this one is the delete user. This one is a little more discreet because it involves deleting the account. It's going to take the username from the local Unity C# program, and what it's basically doing is it's going to take the password that the user is given, compare it to the one in the database, and if it is the same, then yes, the account is going to be deleted. This is just the score, the mini score game that checks if the database is storing the score correctly. And here is going to pass in the username and the score, and it's going to send that to the PHP file, and then that's going to be sent to the database. And once everything is sent and received, it's going to be displayed here with the player name display and score display. Is going to display those things onto the screen. This is just incrementing the score button. This is a tab between function where basically we're just tabbing between different input fields. We have to manually implement that in Unity. This is the DB manager where I'm basically locally storing the username and the score. Here I'm going to later down the line store a lot more information here. Alright, so here we have the PHP side of code, and this is the register PHP where it's going to connect to the local database using XAMPP, the SQL database, and it's going to basically take in the username and password from Unity and filter it, because we don't know what kind of text that we're being received, and we don't want to put a raw text into the database. And if there's nothing malicious, then we're going to go over to the next stage where we check if the username already exists, because people cannot have the same username. And if it doesn't exist, then it's going to hash the password given by the user, because we don't want to store raw password into the database in case of a data breach. And once that's all done, it's going to echo back 1 that the register was successful. In the login PHP, we have the similar thing where we take in the username and password from Unity side, but this time we're going to take the username and password from the database as well, and compare that to the one that's given by the user, and if they do match, then the user will be logged in. Here we have the score count page where same thing, we take the username just to check which user we're trying to retrieve the score from, and once we retrieve the score, we send that, we check if the score, just in case if there was an interception, we check if the score is in fact an integer and there's nothing malicious in there. And here, actually, just to go over, I'm using the prepare method just to remove any SQL injection attacks. And if the username does exist, it will update the new score that is actually given from the database, from the Unity, and update it to the database. This this is the deletion page where we're going to take in the username and password just like the rest of them, but where it's coming from is a little different. This is coming not from the user but from the logged in session in the Unity, and this part, the password, this part is coming from the user actually. And once the same thing, it checks if the user exists. If it does, then it goes to checking if the password matches, and if the password matches, then finally they get to delete their account. The name change is a lot simpler because it doesn't need that extra confirmation of entering the password. It just checks if the logged in user is in fact the one that exists in the database, and if the new username is nothing malicious, then it's going to replace that old username with the new username and update the database.